Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. My name's Adam Spragan. I live around Bellefontaine, Ohio. This is my 1968 International Loadstar I built. Once again, my name is Adam. Welcome to the channel. This is just going to be a video I'm going to start off with just kind of showing you guys the truck, explaining about the build process and walking you guys through that, showing you some pictures, just telling you where the parts and pieces came from, just kind of the ways I put it together. I know a lot of people have built these, so I'm sure that there's a lot of different ways that people have done them, but I'll show you what I did. I ain't no master mechanic, so I'm sure that there's stuff that I've done that probably should have been done different, and that's okay. And also not a master fabricator either, so I didn't go to school for welding. I didn't go to school for any of that. I did go to school for diesel tech, but I don't practice that at work a whole lot. I mean, I do excavating for a living. I do work for an excavating company. I run heavy equipment. I have a Class A CDL. I move equipment. If any of you follow my Instagram, you'll see I post a lot of stuff in my stories of things I'm working on, stuff I'm doing at work with equipment and projects, so you guys could follow along that too if you want to. There is more to come with the truck. I do plan on putting it on air ride eventually, doing some things like that, fenders and interior, more power to the motor, all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens here in the future, but let's get into the process of what I did with building this truck and show you guys how it turned out. So this is the truck. It is a 1968 International Loadstar 1700 cab, and it is sitting on a 2004 Dodge 3500 chassis. It was a 4-door long bed truck when I got it. I'll throw some pictures up here of it. A tree actually fell on the cab, and it was a salvage title truck when I got it. So I bought it from a guy that was going to part it out, and as it turned out, he was able to sell me the whole truck. And so that way I had all the engine, transmission, the running gear, all the driveline parts, all the wiring harness, everything I'd need to put together to make this truck, work and run again. So then I looked into purchasing an International cab that I wanted to actually put onto the frame. I originally wanted to get a 4-door cab, but I couldn't find one in the price range I wanted. So I ended up with this 2-door cab, which I love the thing. It actually come out of Indiana from a farmer, and it had been in his family for a long time. So it was cool to take it and give it a new life. Something that I know I've talked to him and showed him pictures of it and still talk to him to this day, and he loves the truck, of what I've done to it, and that it'll live on for a while instead of being in a junkyard somewhere. Actually started on the build at the end of April of 2022, and the process was actually done May 4th of 23 is actually when I finished it. But so I don't know what that is, a year and 4 months or 5 months or something like that from beginning to end. But I still work a full-time job, so I had to work on it on the evenings and weekends and things like that. So, but anyways, back to the build. So I actually started pulling both those trucks apart. The Dodge, obviously I got rid of the cab and the bed and everything off it that was junk anyways from the tree falling on it. But I had everything checked, and the frame and everything was still good. It didn't bend the frame, didn't hurt anything like that. So all that was able to be used without a problem. So as you would see in these pictures, I actually got everything off the truck. It looked pretty naked without nothing on it. But I actually then started tearing into the International, and within one day I had the cab off of it and actually sitting on the Dodge frame that I had stripped previously. And quickly realized that there was going to be a lot of cutting involved to get the engine transmission to fit inside of the thing, and I knew that I had my hands full with that. After lining up the fenders and stuff with the cab, I realized that the engine and transmission was going to have to go back in the frame. I moved mine 10 inches. I know some people have moved theirs less, but I wanted to be able to still have the radiator and stuff in the front that was all the factory Dodge stuff. I wanted to use it all and put it all back in there the way it was. So for the front end on the truck, these front fenders and everything actually hang on the front core support that actually would hold where the radiator and all that stuff was in the other truck. And I obviously got rid of all that, so I made these mounts here myself that actually go down to the frame, and they hold the fenders on, they hold the front grill shell on, they hold the radiator, the intercooler, they hold all that stuff. So those were something I fabricated from scratch. I know they could probably be better, but hey, I'm no master fabricator, but it all works. And so that allowed the front fenders to hang from that, and actually ended up the bumper actually ended up hanging from that piece too. It's down here by the bottom. You can see that down in there as well. So when that was complete, I rebuilt all the body mounts. I'll show you a little bit of one up in here if I can get in there. There you can see the one. Those are actually the ones that were on the International frame itself, and I just cut them off and actually put them on this truck just to make it easier because of the pocket that was up in there. And on the back, this used to mount in the center, which is right down in there in the center where that little notch is, but it didn't actually work out because obviously the drive shaft would have been in the way. So obviously the mount would have been under there, right where the drive shaft is. So what I did was I actually made new mounts. There's one there and one over here. They're actually the pucks that were out of the Dodge frame, and I just utilized the pockets and made two mounts of my own for the back, which seemed to work out fine. Now became the time of closing in the massive hole that I had cut in the floor and in the firewall of the truck. So I started off by ripping out the floor pans. Some of them weren't great, so I wanted to replace the metal in those anyways. So I went on ahead and got new floor pans that I made to put in it, and I started working on getting the cowl to go back in over top of the engine and transmission, and built the firewall back in as well. It was kind of a fun process to be able to, you know, using cardboard and different things to cut out templates and bending stuff, and it was just a neat process that I enjoyed. But I think it came out pretty well. It is attached with bolts and rivet nuts, so it could be removed, but after doing that process, I'm not so sure that I would want to remove it. So obviously after I got the engine cover and stuff done, I did go on ahead and paint everything inside, which I'll throw some pictures up here so you can see some of that. I did the painting of the inside of the cab, where all the floor pans and all the firewall stuff I did, including the engine cover and transmission cover that I did. But then I went on ahead and put some of the vinyl floor back in that was originally in the truck. So that's kind of cool that some of that's still back in it. But then the rest is just carpet off Amazon, nothing special, that I covered the sound deadener and also some heat shield with to try to keep the noise and stuff down. It ain't no professional job, but for me and for what the truck is, I feel like it came out pretty good. Do a little rust repair on the truck. Obviously I'm not a body guy. You can see the little spot there that I fixed, and I did some under the hood here. These pieces on both sides I redid because they would rot it out, and also underneath the dash where the vents used to come in that are up underneath there. Probably can't see it very good, but I'll throw some pictures up so you guys can see some of that. There's just a little bit of rust repair I did in some places on the truck, but for the most part, the truck and the cab was pretty much rust free. And there was the process of getting the steering column and the pedal assembly back in. The pedal assembly actually is out of the Dodge cab to make everything work again with the slave and the clutch and brakes, and I did modify the pedals some. I actually ended up putting the International pedal pads, and so they're actually welded together there and up there. And I did have to modify the gas pedal some too, but everything seems to work fine. And there's actually International column is the steering wheel and the column piece all the way down to this joint here. And so that joint there is actually the Dodge steering column, and it connected in that area there. So it'll slide apart and separate there from the slip yoke it's in it. Did have to make a sleeve for the steering column to go through because it needed some little bit of extra strength in there, so I did that as well. But then we got into mounting the seats in it stuff. For now, I just got the Dodge seats in it. I do plan on getting a custom bench seat made maybe this winter. I don't know. We'll see how the cash flows with that. And ended up with the center console that I built just to house some switch panel and stuff, and for the shifter and everything. And I just made this little board in here just to kind of fill the space up a little bit. It does have the Dodge gauges in it. If I would do it again, I would go with a standalone harness. That way it doesn't have all the Dodge turn signal and lights and all that kind of stuff in it. But I couldn't get away from using that stuff if I wanted to use the harness that I had. So a standalone harness would allow you to obviously get rid of a lot of those things, but then you lose all your gauges and all that. So I didn't want to get into that right now. But in the future, I would like to go back to old school gauges. Actually use the turn signal switch. It's actually in the steering column. I know all that works and everything, but more things to upgrade in the future. Also, there's no headliner at the moment either, so I'd like to have a custom headliner made that would match the bench seat and stuff I have made for it here in the future. A couple other things I need to finish. The truck doesn't have wipers at work. I mean, the wipers are on the front of the truck here, but they are not hooked to a motor, so they do not work. Also, the truck does not have heat or AC, so that's hopefully something to accomplish this winter that hopefully I'll do here on the channel as well. Another cool thing about the truck, in the glove box here, stuff's not in there anymore. I'll throw some pictures up here so you can see it, but I found all the original paperwork for this truck. So I have the original build sheet for it. I have some sales stuff for it. It's just pretty cool to have all that paperwork that's dated back when the truck was originally purchased. So that was just some cool stuff to find, including the operator's manual, just all kinds of cool stuff that's in there. Moving on to the back of the truck, I knew that I wanted the back of the frame to kind of sit more level, kind of give it that semi-deck kind of look to it. So I did end up leveling the frame with a false frame up above it, I guess you could call it. And I put this plate steel on here and use that one on hinges, so you can obviously access the fuel system and the exhaust and the drive shaft and just accessibility for things of that nature. I did take a B&W turnover ball that was for this truck, and I actually cut it down and made it so it would fit underneath well. You can see the bracketry and stuff that I made right there. And of course everything else is hidden underneath. Then moving on to the rear bumper, it was all custom built, just out of a piece of, rectangle square stock, and I started with that and set it on some blocks and just started building from there, and put the hitch and stuff in it and things of that nature, and that's how it came out. So then I actually went in search of a set of stacks, and these are actually 8-inch stacks. Those were not actually what I had intended on going with the truck. I actually wanted something a little bit smaller. But as I found out, stacks are not cheap. And so these actually came from a guy up in Kenton, Ohio. Come off of a semi. They're not super new stacks, but they still look decent. And we got them put on there. I actually ended up, instead of buying $1,000 90s, I just took them and cut a 45 at the bottom of both of them, welded them back together, and that actually made my 90. So, I don't know. Some people might not like it, but I think it turned out fine. And for what I'm doing, I think it'll work great. The same guy that we got the stacks from also had these Peterbilt mounts for tanks and the straps. I do actually have them upside down from the way they'd be mounted on an actual truck, but they're mounted to the frame on both sides and they hold the tanks well. This tank on this right side is actually a battery box. This tank on the driver's side is a fuel tank. It is used for fuel. There is no gauge in it, so you can see my fancy gauge I have there. It may be dumb, but hey, it works. So to access this battery box, you actually pull off these two pins, go through the straps, and the straps actually fold over the tank, and the whole tank actually lifts off of the battery box. And that way you can access the batteries and stuff easily. And there you can see those tank brackets a little better. So some of you Peterbilt guys may say they're upside down, and yes, you're right, they are. But I didn't have any room under the hood for the batteries, so I thought this would be a good idea of a place to hide them. And who needs 120 gallons of fuel on something like this? So I figured that would work. So yes, it is a false tank, but nobody really knows. Moving on to the wheels and tires. These are 24-inch wheels. They were done by Dual King Industries in Auburn, Indiana. They are 24/5 semi wheels that have been milled down, and they did the custom cut in them as well. And then he put the tires and stuff on them as well. There are adapters. They're 8x10 lug adapters. I don't know if you can see them in there a little bit. The front has them as well. So these are not direct bolt-on wheels like I know some people have. You can see the adapter in there. But these adapters are the good ones. They don't actually have they don't actually sit on just the studs. They actually sit on the main pilot that is actually in the wheel and actually on the hub of the truck. So these are completely safe to tow with, and you don't have to worry about them coming off or anything like that. After getting all the fab work and stuff complete, obviously it was painting time. I did go cheap. This is just a bunch of rattle can Rust-Oleum. I need to maybe go back through and put something different on it here eventually, but I was just trying to get it done for the moment, and for the moment it looks pretty good. So might put some sweet patina undercoat paint on at some point. I don't know, we'll just see. As far as the lights go on the truck, there is a turn signal running light there, one down here as well. Those are original lenses, but I did relight them with LEDs, and I wanted to be able to see, so I didn't go with original headlights. They're actually, you know, an LED light as well, and they're extremely bright. Also the cab lights, once again, they're original lenses and the bezels and all that kind of stuff, but they are LED as well. So everything on the truck is LED up front, including the stuff on the back as well. And this is a question I get a lot about: what kind of taillights are those that you put in that truck? And the secret is those are actually EB trailer lights. So they're what would come off of like EB trailers, hopper bottom trailers. That's where I actually seen them initially, and I just thought they'd be something cool to put on a truck. So that's my little secret. And there's some little marker lights on the side. I don't know, I may put some more lights on this thing eventually. I just put enough on it to have everything look nice for now. The engine and transmission out of the 04 Dodge. So it is the 5.9 common rail motor. This is the early 04, so it's the 305 horse motor. And it does have the NV5600 6-speed behind it. The motor is all bone stock except for just the filter that you see here, and it has a small tune from Fire Punk. It's like 400 horse or something. It's not that big of a deal, but it still runs good for what it is. And the transmission also has a Valair dual disc clutch in it as well, because I do plan on putting some power to it eventually, but just not right now. Also, the engine has an AirDog lift pump too that's under this back plate here in the back. I can show you guys as well. I just mounted on the frame back here. There it is right there. So that's kind of a quick run through of the truck. I kind of wish that I would have maybe filmed actually building it, but I had a few people, including Corey Wheat, that told me that, hey man, you should film that while you build it. But I didn't really want to. I don't know why, but here I am now, so I probably should have done it to start with. But I'm going to show you the shop a little bit just so you guys kind of know that, you know, I didn't have any fancy tools. I don't have a lift. I didn't have none of that. So anybody that says they can't build something like this in their own garage with their Harbor Freight tools, you're wrong, because that's what I did with mine. The barn itself is actually a 36 by 48. It's got two 12 by 12 doors in it. I had the barn put up by an Amish crew, but I actually finished all the inside myself. I put the loft up there, which is an amazing place to keep all that crap so it's not down here against the walls everywhere. And then I insulated the ceiling, put all the lights up, and insulated all the walls, and put up the T111, all the trim. Built some racks for storing some stuff as well. Got my metal storage racks. This is just metal that I've acquired from purchasing and just finding it laying around on commercial jobs and things of that nature. I do have a furnace that I'm going to be putting in here hopefully this winter, so I can have some heat out here. It'd be nice to have that opposed to last year's a little cold. So I do have a tractor that I used. I used it a lot for the cab and stuff, for lifting it on and off. I used it on one side and engine hoist on the other. That's actually how I lifted the cab on and off. But the original International 345 engine is still over here in the transmission. It just ran way too good for me to junk it, so I just couldn't do that. So if anybody are looking for a good engine, it's still runs good. So, and then I got an axle here. It's a Dana 80 hybrid axle, limited slip. It's actually for the white truck that you'll see here in a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty much the shop in this area. As you can see, that's all the tools I have. I don't have a massive toolbox. It is a Harbor Freight toolbox. I guess the one on top's Cobalt, but I mean, all this stuff is Harbor Freight. Like, I don't have anything super fancy. I mean, my impacts, I mean, all that stuff is all cheap stuff. So, I mean, I do have a torch set, and this Hobart 190 welder did all the welding on this. And I do have a Amazon plasma cutter, but it's at a friend's house right now at another project I'm helping him with. But I got a weld table, got just a shop table. I do like to do some wood stuff as well, so I do some working on those things occasionally. This little bandsaw here, this is what cut a lot of the metal for building this project, and I got a metal brake and a pipe bender. So just have a few things, and nothing fancy, like I said again. Just some storage of some stuff, more shop stuff. I do like to collect some old cans, so I do have a few there in my collection to start with. This is a little bit of the stuff that the truck's done. It did win a top 75. It won a Kids' Choice, and then, it actually won Most Unique at Smoky Mountain this year. So that was a pretty cool thing to have done. And of course, you need a shop fridge. Everybody needs a shop fridge. I do have a bunch of signs and a bunch of stuff I'm going to be putting up here on the walls, license plates, all that. I just haven't gotten to it yet. So that's pretty much it inside of here. Just wanted you guys to see that this is where this truck came to life, right where it's sitting right there. That is where the whole truck was built, in this shop. So I don't have a big place for working on stuff either, but it works. The other thing I forgot to mention is the truck wasn't the main picture of the cover, but it was on the cover of Diesel World, and then there was a whole centerfold and then a bunch of, a write-up about it and stuff. So that all happened at the first show I went to at UCC this past year, so that was pretty cool. It's actually the October issue, if anybody's interested in knowing. What are you doing? Say hi to YouTube. Get your duck. Get your duck. You ready to go inside? YouTube, this is Ace, and he is done and ready to go inside. So that's pretty much it for the shop. I mean, nothing special, but I am going to take you outside and show you the other truck that I have, because you'll probably be seeing it on the channel here some too. So this is my 2001 Dodge 2500. It's a regular cab long bed. It's got the 24 valve VP motor in it. It's got a build automatic in it. I don't know, it was in it when I bought it, so I'm not sure what's done to the tranny, but it seems to be pretty decent in it. It's got a set of track bars on it. Were on it when I bought it as well. The Moto Metal 20x12s, they were on it as well when I bought it. It's not a perfect truck by any means. Obviously, you can see there's rust on the fenders. There's typical rust on the rockers and cab corners, the floor pans. It all could use some attention. I just haven't done it yet, because here in Ohio with all the salt, I hate to repair it if I'm gonna put it back in the salt again right away. So, but it's got a tonneau cover and stuff on it too. I mean, I use it as a truck. I mean, it's got straps and all kinds of stuff in the bed of it. I mean, it's got a roll pan on it, got LED lights on it, 5-inch exhaust. I don't remember what tent's on it. I think there's 5 on the back, 20 on the sides, and 35 on the windshield or something like that. But for the most part, I enjoy driving around on the weekends and stuff, rip around, use it to go pick up stuff or whatever I need to do with it. The inside is decent in it too. I mean, for the year, I mean, it is crank windows, push locks. It ain't nothing fancy. I mean, typical Dodge seat ripped up a little bit. The dash was obviously cracked too, but it's got a cover on it. It does have I think it's an H&S Power Max. I don't really know much about the chip. It was in it when I bought it as well. Seems to run okay though, but I'll show you under the hood and show you the rest of the stuff. It does have the 5.9 24 valve motor in it. It's got a Dragonflow VP on it. It's a 100 or 150% over stock. I don't remember. It's the biggest VP pump you can get for these from industrial. It's got 200 horse injectors in it. It's got a stage 1 D&J head on it. It's got studs and stuff in it as well. 3-piece manifold and a Bort Warner, I believe it's a 6368.81 T4 charger with built wheels, built shafts, 360 thrust bearings. It's pretty good charger from what I've seen so far. I put it on it. So that's pretty much it. Nothing real special. Like I said, I don't know. I've been told it could make 650. I don't know. Maybe somebody would know better than me. It's just a fun truck to go out and play and rip around on and hurt some feelings and stuff, but maybe I'll do some rust repair on this in the future on the channel. Obviously it's got fenders are rusting, you know, the rockers and cab corners are not good on it either, so, but the bed's pretty good on it for a change, so at least that's one thing it's got going for it. But just a fun truck to drive around. I'm sure you'll see it on the channel from time to time. Well, that's it as far as the build for the truck. I mean, obviously I'd like to do some more stuff to here in the future. I mean, there's always something, you know, projects are never done. I mean, air ride will be happening here in the future at some point. Obviously the interior I talked about, the wipers, the heat and the AC. Let's see, what else I got? Maybe some more lights. I don't know. There's just a lot of different things I'd like to do to it. Maybe make 500, 600, 700 horse in the motor. I don't know. It's just all depends on how much money I got coming in from work and stuff and some side projects and what I can allow myself to sink into this truck. But obviously I got other projects I want to do. The wife now wants me to build her a truck, so we're kind of looking for something for her for that. I have some rat rod stuff I want to build. I have, you know, obviously more trucks I want to build. I mean, there's always more. So it's endless. It just depends on, you know, the amount of money that you have and the time to build it. But this channel is pretty much just going to be about, you know, working on things with the truck and more projects I do with the things I just talked about. Also, I have a smoker and stuff I'm gonna be building. I have a friend's drift car that I'm gonna be doing some custom fab in with a dash and just some bumper stuff and just some things that I'll probably film so you guys can see. I got a Jeep I'm gonna be helping a friend with, doing a motor swap in, doing maybe a lift and some wheels and tires. I don't know, just random stuff. Try to keep, you know, focused towards more truck and building stuff and things of that nature, but you know, mix of everything may be kind of fun. There is also going to be some content I've already shot for this channel that I did prior to this video that was earlier this fall, that was some truck show stuff and truck pulls and tractor pulls and just some things like that. I had a little event I went to with some friends as well, but the truck was there for all of it, so I think it's kind of truck content and it's some fun stuff for you guys to maybe see. But I think that'll wrap up this video. Appreciate you guys watching. God bless, and we'll see you on the next one.